Hello and welcome to the Watering Hole. Vice Rhino here. John of Godless Engineer over there. I actually pointed the right direction the first try this time. I'm getting better at this.
Yeah. What's up, heathens? How y'all doing?
Okay, so Blade Runner down in the chat was kind of ribbing me for being late because I started at 8:31 instead of 8:30. And he said he's German, so he's punctual. And I rather like this. If Harold Camping would have been German, the rapture would have happened.
Yeah.
Indeed. Oh, when was that? That was like 10 years ago, wasn't it?
Something like that. And then that wasn't his first time either. I think that was like his second or third time where he tried to calculate the end of the world. But I mean, it's been a while.
So I'm thinking of the one that happened in New York City, and it like right around the time that he said it was going to happen, some storm clouds started gathering.
Yeah.
And then nothing happened.
Yeah.
Oh, Shannon Q is in the chat, and I apparently haven't made her a moderator yet. Do I want to make her a moderator? She is Shannon.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you better make her a moderator. I mean, you live closer to her than I do, I guess, considering I'm not Canadian.
Yes, if I make her a moderator, there could be trouble. If I don't make her a moderator, there will be trouble. Hi, Shannon. All right, so yeah, just some news before we get going into the news, personal news. I have now started my ADHD medication. Had my doctor's appointment earlier this week.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm hoping it'll help. So far, I didn't have that experience that some people have described, where like you take the medication and it's like, oh, is this what it's like to like be able to finish what you start and like think of something that you need to do and just do it. I didn't have that. But also, this has not been a normal week for me.
Yeah,
because my kids are out of town, and so like everything's just been all over the place. So like, yeah, I cleaned out my closet. Maybe that was because the meds helped me realize that was something I needed to do. Maybe that was hyperfocus. I'm not done, and there's a bunch of stuff laying on my bedroom floor that needs to be picked up. So we'll see. It's a trial period. We gotta see if it works.
I mean, maybe it'll start helping out. Who knows? Could take a little bit.
It could. Well, yeah, and also it's like they start you on a low dose because like they're addictive and they can cause heart problems if in high quantity. So they want to start you on as low a dose as possible and like work you up to the one that works for you. Also, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to drink while I'm on them. They have technically worn off by now, but I will not be drinking this evening because I want to talk to my doctor about that first.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea.
I'm pretty sure I can still have my morning tea.
I would bet so. I think normally it's just alcohol that they warn you against.
Well,
because it could enhance
with this specifically. It's a stimulant plus a depressant, and both of them have heart stuff as their side effects. So they're two drugs fighting each other and also fighting your heart at the same time. It might not go over well. That said, enough college kids use these things illicitly and then go to parties, so I'm not terribly concerned. KC says John has no sleeves. Are we going to get a Brocephus cameo?
I don't know about that, but yeah, I hate sleeves. I love having no sleeves.
Well, I do have sleeves. I'm in one of these polo shirts. I love polo shirts like this, but they generally don't make them long enough for me because I'm a little bit on the tall side, so it's like if I bend over, you can see my butt crack kind of shirt. And it makes me uncomfortable. But this shirt, this is one of the highest quality shirts I have ever bought. This shirt is it's more than 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
I've had this shirt since I was 16, and oh my God, I just realized I was 16 20 years ago. Fuck. Jesus. But yeah, it says I climbed Ben Nevis on it. So that's from when my dad took me to the UK. Ben Nevis is the tallest mountain on the Isle of... I'm not sure whether it's in all of the UK or just on the island of Britain. But it's the tallest mountain, and because they don't really have mountains, tallest mountain is just a slightly large hill. So you hike up it, and it's a good hike, but you buy a t-shirt on your way down. And yeah, it's still in excellent condition, and it's 20 years old. Like, I have I actually still have a lot of other shirts from that era that are like the raggedy shirts with holes in them that I use for painting and stuff.
Oh. See, normally the shirts that I use for that are just covered in like food stuff, like right here, because that's just how I roll.
I haven't used that so much anymore because since I did some work in a crawl space where it was stupid. I shouldn't have done it. Well, I didn't know I was going to upgrade the internet later, but we used to have the internet came in over there in the office, and I'm over here. So rather than have cables flying every which way over the office, I ran them through the crawl space underneath, which is dirty and gross and covered in spiders and dust and cobwebs, and it's not finished. It's not got a floor. It's just dirt down there, and it's just I hate that sort of thing. So I actually got like coveralls for it, and like was wearing like a mask and a hood and stuff like that. But so now I have coveralls that I can use for that sort of thing. Oh, we got a Paul in the chat too. Everybody's coming to the chat today. Is this a
fashion stream?
No, do you see the two guys on here?
I mean, sleeves are overrated. Everybody just needs to go sleeveless.
I did my hair tonight. I don't know how to do my hair, so that's why it looks like this. But and well, no, okay. So my daughter likes to do my hair. Well, I put them to bed, and she's been watching Stranger Things, so she tries to make me look like Steve. And so my hair it has a mind of its own, so I had to like spend extra money on like this expensive clay stuff to get her to actually do it. So it actually holds really, really well. So like I do that and it just stays or whatever. But I don't know what I'm doing with it, so it looks like this.
Here's what you need to do. You need to let it grow out a lot and then do like an Eddie kind of hairdo there.
I don't know if I could pull off the Eddie aesthetic.
No.
I think I could do Jonathan. The kind of creepy, brooding.
Yeah.
I could do that.
I don't know. Your hair would have to lay down pretty flat for that.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I don't. Hair wise, I wouldn't be able to do it. The rest of me, I can do this. I can brood. I can brood with the best of them. Anyway, on to some news items. Let's see. That's not the one I wanted to start with. That's the one I wanted to start with. From Only Sky, coming to us from good old Hemant Mehta, says, a Christian hate group says it's a church. Why does the IRS agree? This is not a new phenomenon, but this is a fairly new, like there's a new one, Family Research Council. They've done that thing where they apply to be a church. And so they were already a nonprofit. Only difference between being a church and being a nonprofit is, first off, that's what I might be wrong on this one because Hemant doesn't really mention that, which kind of surprised me. But I think that's when the Johnson Amendment starts applying, where you're like, if you're a nonprofit, you're allowed to do political stuff. You just have to disclose it and be open about it. Whereas if you're a church, you're not allowed to do political stuff, but you also now don't have to disclose anything.
Well, as far as I understand it about the whole 501c3 designation is that, I mean, regardless of church or nonprofit, like you can't endorse a candidate or tell people not to vote for a specific candidate. So you can't participate in it that way.
Oh, but so the whole still advocating against LGBTQ rights and stuff.
Right.
Okay.
And so you can still talk about political issues all you want to. It's just where it infringes on the Johnson Amendment is that if you start endorsing candidates or even whole parties, once you get into the endorsement or non-endorsement, I guess, like where you're negatively endorsing, I guess, some candidate or party or thing, then that's when it kind of breaches the Johnson Amendment.
Oh, Shannon Q's shitting on Stranger Things in the chat. I love Stranger Things. It's so good. Don't you dare shit on. I'll take your wrench away. It's such a good show, and the kids are all so good, and they're like charming and delightful, like right from season one. And it's I don't know, it hits the spot for me.
Well, I have to say, in the most recent season of it, I thought that they covered the whole satanic panic thing pretty well.
I loved that. That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but they have like a whole sort of sub theme throughout it of this whole satanic panic and the ramifications of all that.
I want to say things, but I also don't want to spoil things for people that might not have seen it.
Yeah.
It was good. And the last episode, like I need to recalibrate myself, because since Mrs. Rhino died, I cry at movies easier than I used to. But I still don't much. The last episode of Stranger Things had me on a roller coaster. Like, I'm crying because it's happy. Oh, yeah, happy, happy. Oh, no, not that. Oh, sad, cry. And then happy again. And then it was just like up and down, and it wrecked me. But yeah, I don't know why, like, the last two episodes were each like feature film length.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I felt like nearly all of the episodes in this latest season was kind of like that. Like, not as much as the last two episodes, but like all the other episodes were more than an hour long, I think.
Yeah, they were usually around an hour. Anyway, we were doing news stuff. Remember I said my meds wore off around now. Okay, so what Hammond says is, as a non-profit group, they have every right to do this, lobby against LGBTQ crap. But like all non-profits, their tax-exempt status comes with a simple catch. They have to file the Form 990. So that's where they say where we got our money from and what we're doing with our money. As a church, they don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, and I think that if memory serves, the only thing that you really have to do in order to qualify, like as a church, is have like regular meetings and stuff like that. And I can't remember all of the criteria, but
there's
it was
14
like
criteria.
Really lax.
There's 14 criteria. Let's see. I don't think he lists them. Oh yeah, here we go. There's a link to the list, so we can open the list. Distinct legal existence, recognized creed and form of worship, definite and distinct ecclesiastical government, formal code of doctrine and discipline, distinct religious history, membership not... So I guess that's their little way of filtering out like the flying spaghetti monster thing. Although I think they did... Are they officially a church? So I know there's some people that have had like driver's licenses, pictures taken with the soup or the pasta strainer on their colander. That's what it's called.
Yeah, colander. I think they're recognized as a religion, but I don't know if there's like an official church. I'm not aware of one.
Maybe membership not associated with any other church or denomination, organization of ordained ministers. That's interesting. Membership not associated with any other church or organization, because one of the ways that they got around this was saying that there's a bunch of churches that agree with us on a lot of crap, so we'll just consider those as member churches, and so call that us as a church. But it was like churches of different denominations. It wasn't a specific denomination.
Mm-hmm.
But then they hit 11 out of 14, so maybe that's one that they missed. Organization of ordained ministers selected after completing a prescribed course of study, literature of its own, established places of worship. Spoiler for later in the article, their established place of worship was, we have a cafeteria. And then a journalist called them to be like, hey, I'm calling up to find out when your church services are. I'd like to attend your church. And they were told, no, we don't do church services. But they told the IRS that they did.
Yeah.
And the IRS didn't even check. They were just like, yeah, sure, whatever. Regular congregations, regular religious services. Oh, I guess the services, whatever. I don't know. Some of these are overlapping. Sunday schools for the religious instruction of the young, which at this organization, that would be terrifying. School for the preparation of its members. So those are the 14 thingamajingers, to use the technical term.
Yeah, I don't like as far as the wording on the IRS side, I don't think that they have to satisfy every single one of these. They
No,
probably just have to.
it's a most rather than an all thing.
Right.
Um, yeah, but yeah. So he links to if you haven't seen this John Oliver bit on HBO for churches, it's excellent. He starts a church at the end of it just to show how easy it is and how little the IRS bothers to check. I'm not going to play that because I play it pretty fast and loose with the copyright bots sometimes, but I feel like HBO's on top of things.
They really are.
Yeah.
Especially with John Oliver's show.
Yeah. That and Game of Thrones. Well, I don't know if they're so stringent about Game of Thrones anymore, but anyway, so this is the question: how did they hit these things that they clearly don't actually hit? They lied, or stretched the truth beyond reality. So yeah, so it says its employees are its ministers. So if you work there, you're a minister. Its members are congregations. Its cafeteria was the place of worship, and its board of directors are the elders, and the president is the head deacon. And the radio show is an extension of the congregation.
Oh.
So it's transparent bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how it could get more transparent. John Wayne says John Oliver does the news better than network news, and it's still funnier than most comics. I agree with that. He's not regular enough. Stephen Colbert is who I tend to go to for current events sorts of things.
Cool. Yeah, Colbert's pretty cool.
But when it's a comedy show, you have to, not take them on their word for everything, because like they have to exaggerate for comedic effect frequently. But yeah, it was kind of surprising to me how like accurate Colbert was as a news source, like during the Trump presidency.
Yeah.
Because I didn't arrive at Colbert because I thought, oh, he's left leaning, he agrees with me on stuff, therefore I will go with him. I landed on him because I was looking for people that were being accurate about stuff, and he was the only one that I could see that wasn't spinning too much.
Right. Yeah, you got to be careful about that, because I mean, both sides spin it. You just got to find ones that don't spin it as much as the others.
Oh yeah, like Occupy Democrats, I agree with a lot of their tweets. They are a propaganda mill. They're a left-leaning propaganda mill, and they will bend the truth to fit their narrative. So Occupy Democrats, be careful with them. Always double check their stuff. Like,
I never feel like I can really share their stuff.
Don't believe it just because you agree with it. But yeah, so some of the leaders here, of course, defended the decision, saying the change allowed them to avoid government interference with their work, even though the government wasn't getting in the way of their missions.
Yeah.
So it's just a way for them to be more sneaky, for them to not have to disclose where their stuff is going. Oh, Shannon says, I have to go watch Big Brother now. Try not to suck. I don't know. I feel like even if I do suck, I'll still be better than Big Brother. Just saying.
Oh, I think that she's talking about Big Brother, like Big Brother not sucking.
No, I think she's talking about me.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't seem like Shannon not to leave with a little jab.
Yeah. Well, I guess I was expecting a comma there, but maybe I just got bad grammar. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, I have no problem saying I'm better than Big Brother.
I don't know, man. Sometimes that Big Brother's pretty spicy.
Yeah, there's a whole category on Pornhub for the Big Brother sex tapes.
What?
There is. Apparently,
I mean, I don't serve Big Brother.
Apparently, the people on Big Brother occasionally have sex, which that doesn't really surprise me. But like employees that have access to the tapes will like pirate them out somehow.
Yeah, somehow.
Yeah, Casey confirmed she was talking about us not sucking.
Yeah, I got that.
Blade Runner says watching a turd flushing is better than Big Brother. Yeah, I can confidently say I'm probably at least a little better than watching a turd flushing. Depends on the turd. That could be really satisfying. Like, whoop. Okay. You're welcome, Hemant, for interspersing your lovely article with this commentary.
I'm sure he'd love it.
Maybe. So yeah, apparently the Family Research Council moved to become a church in 2020. And this is where they claim they fulfilled the IRS's requirements because it's partners. It is partners with a whole bunch of churches. And it claims it has nearly 40,000 churches in its association. It does not list these churches. It did not tell the IRS who these churches are. It just pulled a number out of its ass.
Mm-hmm.
Corporations are people, so they can have asses, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah,
a corporation can just be a giant ass.
So John, your Godless Engineer YouTube channel is that's a religion, right? You've got like 10,000 member satellite churches all across North America, don't you? Or your subscribers are your ministers.
Sure. I mean, I think so. I mean, I could definitely pull a church out of the GE ass. So I mean, I think we could totally make GE a church of the Godless Engineer. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I've
KC is right now being like, please God, no, please don't.
Yeah, no, that invites for an atheist organization, that invites a level of scrutiny that is uncomfortable. Whereas for a Christian organization, it's the exact opposite.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently they told the IRS that they perform baptisms and weddings, but that's like via its affiliated churches. So it's like the church that it won't tell you which church is a member does baptisms and weddings. Therefore, we do baptisms and weddings. Oh yeah, here we go. So
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I got to, when a ProPublica reporter called to inquire about service times, a staffer who answered the phone responded, "We don't have church services." It's like, well, that's not what you told the IRS.
Yeah. This is a good point. You know, somebody pointed out in the chat that we do our Bible studies online, so, you know, we're basically a church.
I kind of do a Bible study. I've got to edit July's episode. Actually kind of worked out well. Last month's episode ran way too long, so I split it into two, so now I don't have to, like, she's busy in the summer. I'm not going to be able to pin her down inside in a dingy old office to record Bible stories when there's outside playing and friends to play with and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll wait for a rainy day. So yeah, basically IRS got scared about a decade ago when churches essentially started in like, okay, well, you know, actually, like if you actually investigate us, then we'll start putting up a public stink.
Yeah.
Praise be to the Rhino and Engineer. Does my live stream count as our regular worship service? Will you be a joint church?
I mean, I think so, yeah.
Sure, why not? Subscribe to The Watering Hole, where we create religions on, like, just out of our asses for no apparent reason. Well, no, lots of apparent reasons. Oh, I'd save so much money in taxes if I was a religious affiliation. I've considered registering as a nonprofit, but there's like way too many hoops to jump through because I'm not actually. But it's like I'm looking at it, it's like, well, it says educational organization. I do educational crap sometimes with dick jokes. Who's Your Buddy says GE does Bible studies, has a Friday night mass, gives to charities, and has private meetings for members. Sounds like a church to me. Yeah, sounds like you've got a legit claim there. At least as legit as the Family Research Council.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, I'm totally, I mean, I'm in total agreement with that. Definitely.
Okay. Kitty's making an appearance, but she's not showing her face, so we gotta. Oh, yeah, purr right into that microphone. You little attention whore. Okay. Oh god, I need to trim her claws. She keeps stabbing me. She got the rabies shot the other day, so I stabbed her back. Yaha.
Oh, okay.
All right. Next up. Need to give more solid delineations between my segments to make editing easier later. Next up, we have an auto-played video that thankfully is muted. I don't think that's related. So this is the title thing. So did you hear that Joe Biden got Mexico to pay for the wall?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Mexico to pay $1.5 billion for U.S. border security and processing, source says. So it's not the wall, because the wall is a stupid idea to begin with.
Right.
Like there are barriers in a place, and I have to before I forget, I'm going to scroll down. Where are we? Okay, I'm going to give this article a little bit of shit because they give Trump credit where it's not earned. It says it was a promise he repeated time and again throughout his build the wall and make Mexico pay for it. Is a promise he repeated time and again throughout his run and his presidency, ultimately building more than 450 miles of new wall with money that had originally been allocated to the Pentagon. He did not build 450 miles of new wall. He built 80 miles of new wall. The rest of that 450 miles number was just like regular maintenance on existing wall that was scheduled before he was even elected.
Right.
So you can't really say that he built that when he just didn't get in the way of the regular scheduled maintenance.
Right.
Naramdaput Sal says, praise be. Oh God, I've been watching the Handmaid's Tale recently.
Oh, have you?
Yes. Well, I started around the same time as you guys, but you guys like powered through it or something.
Okay.
I like watch 2 episodes and then have to give it a week because it's just so. But like
it's a lot.
Yeah, and they're like official responses, like the praise be and the under his eye and the whatever comes before may the Lord open.
Mm-hmm.
Like those things just drive me bonkers. Because like I'm just sitting there like, what if you say the wrong one? Is there a penalty if you say the wrong one? And I listened to the book on audiobook before I started watching the show, and there's a lot of liberties they took with the show that they had to take with the show because it wouldn't have translated very well to TV, because there's stuff like the handmaids were not allowed to even say like one word to each other that wasn't one of these banal praise be sort of things. And so like, and that's the purpose of their wings, so they look straight ahead, they can't look at each other. And they would do stuff like find shop windows where they could like make eye contact in their reflection in the glass, but while they're doing that they're worried about cameras watching them make this eye contact and stuff. And like, you can't do that in a show. And like, you could do that, but not and have the handmaids be the focus of the show. It would be very, very difficult.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so I understand why they took some liberties and gave the handmaids more freedom than they get in the books. But like watching the show after having read the book, it's just like every time they like look to the side and say something that's not one of these things, and there's one of the angels is right behind them, or guardians or whatever they're called, I don't know. Every time they do that, I'm just like, no, he's gonna like smack her like right now. And like, I just got past the episode where that did happen to Janine. Was it Janine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Janine.
And poor Janine, man.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, that's another little rabbit hole. So anyway, Mexico on Tuesday agreed to contribute $1.5 billion to a joint initiative with the U.S. to improve infrastructure along the U.S.-Mexico border. So that is partially... I imagine there's going to be some wall stuff in there too, just for the pedants.
Right.
but yeah, it's like upgrading their infrastructure, modernizing their like checkpoints,
Hmm.
security cameras, I'd imagine, stuff like that. So all the stuff that like Trump would want to do, but that the GOP is right now saying, "Oh, Biden wants open borders."
Right. Well, you see, the thing with Trump was that he was so focused, like he hyper focused on the wall as if the wall was going to prevent anything.
Yeah,
And
it's like
even
no, they'll
though,
just bring a ladder.
right. Well, I mean, even though people were like, because I remember this specifically, that a border, I don't know if it was a border agent or somebody that was kind of overseeing the border security. They were like, now here's the wall, and we found an underground tunnel like 20 feet away.
Mm-hmm.
And so like this person was painfully pointing out how the wall doesn't actually prevent anything.
Nope.
And it sounds like to me that this agreement that Biden got to or negotiated with Mexico is actually going to do things that will help prevent or catch illegal immigration, people that are looking to illegally immigrate.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen this, but on Twitter, I know you're not really going on Twitter too much right now, but on Twitter, there's this conservative cell phones, and there was
Yes.
this one tweet. Yeah, there's this one tweet where the guy was like, "Look at how bad Biden's border crisis has gotten," and then he talks about how like,
How
a
many
bunch of
terrorists he
like,
arrested?
yeah, something like
I'm pretty
like a
sure.
whole
I'm pretty
bunch
sure
of.
that was on Twit tweets a couple weeks
Oh,
ago.
was it?
I,
Yeah,
I don't know. I know.
yeah,
I know what tweet you're talking about.
yeah, and so it's like, wait a second, if Biden's doing bad at this, shouldn't we be seeing like that? Oh, he let this many people come in, not oh we stopped that many people or we stopped this group of people or whatever. Like we should be saying that they're getting in without any kind of like repercussions or stopping them or anything. And I think it's hilarious how they're like, oh, we stopped this many people. It's like, well, yeah, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah. Well, okay. So here's my take on borders in general. I actually tend towards libertarianism almost when it comes to national borders. I do think checkpoints are important, and they're a good thing. It's a good way to catch criminals or stop people from escaping into other jurisdictions where they can't be prosecuted or extradited or whatever. So, like, I'm not saying that the borders should be completely open and just let anyone through, whoever wants to, whatever. But it's like immigration is good for the economy, like almost always. And like there's very rare instances when it's not. So it's like, why would you be against people coming in and helping your economy thrive? Like they create jobs, they take jobs that the natives don't necessarily want. They most of them pay taxes. Illegal immigrants pay a lot of taxes. Like they're just all around good for the economy. On top of that, like back to the wall thing, I don't know if this still holds true. I imagine it would. This is like one of those things that is generally true, but I haven't checked up on it recently, is that the majority of illegal immigrants actually come on planes. So like they'll just fly over with a temporary visa and won't fly back. Right. And that's like, you're not going to stop that with a border wall. Even if they come over on the land, they have a visa. They just don't come back. They just don't leave the country when the visa expires. But yeah, so like that's kind of my take on the border, is that like, checkpoints are okay. Also for like controlling things like bringing potentially contaminated fruits and vegetables and crap and stuff like that. So like there are reasons to have it. I'm not completely libertarian with it. I just think as far as the people moving back and forth, I don't have an issue with that.
Oh yeah, and I don't either at all. Like I think that the whole sanctuary city thing and making the immigration process a lot easier is only going to benefit us, like our economy and stuff. So I think that the xenophobic position that Republicans seem to have right now about immigration, I mean that's been going on for the longest time, um, and I think that they're just really looking to shoot themselves in the foot, because um, I don't know. I don't understand. Like, as long as we have proper precautions in place to prevent like the illegal activity and and everything like that, I don't see why immigration should be a bad thing. If it helps our economy and people are coming over, they're working, they're paying taxes and all this other, like I don't see how this is like there's like a negative on us. And Republicans always say, "Oh, well, they're taking our gerbs." It's like you weren't going to take that job in the first place. Like
Yep.
the jobs that they're quote unquote taking are jobs that need to be done, but you're not willing to do yourself because you've got like a high and mighty attitude about whatever job you're going to take. So it just, I don't know. It does, like the whole position just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, so Scott Dillahunt says the visa trick Rhino just described also happens with Canadians in the U.S., and nobody ever whines and moans about Canadians going south and pushing for proper health care, though. Like, yeah, I wonder why they don't whine about the Canadians, but they do about the Mexicans. What
Mm,
main difference is there between Canadians and Mexicans that
it'd be
tends to come
skin
up there?
color.
Might have something to do with that. Um, Yeah, well, so I don't really have a whole lot to say on this story. I just one of like so one of the things I wanted to highlight is that so Biden accomplished this through diplomacy, whereas Trump failed to accomplish this through bravado and bluster. So
Yeah.
Trump tried to threaten them and impose tariffs and crap to like, oh, you do as I say or else. Whereas Biden's like, hey, here's what we're doing. It's going to help you as well. Why don't you pitch in a little? And they said okay. So a
Yeah.
little bit of tact goes a long way. But also I find it funny that like this is the kind of thing that like I don't know, I don't think this is necessarily the best allocation of resources. Because of what we were just talking about, how like
Right.
like I mean, if Biden's already catching all these terrorists on their way in and stopping all these drugs from coming in, it's like sounds like they're doing pretty decent job with that. Like, yeah, maybe some modernization needs to happen, but so I just find it funny that like the people who like people who wanted Trump to accomplish this are still saying that Biden's accomplishing nothing and he has an open border policy while Biden goes and does something that Trump was incapable of doing that they wanted him to do. And meanwhile, those of us on a little bit further left than that are like, is that really a good spot to be focusing on? Like, it was fine. Maybe not fine, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
I also don't live in the states, so I don't know exactly what goes on. Like my southern border, like yeah, I'm a little nervous about the southern border that I have sitting over there.
I mean, if I were you, I'd be nervous about it. I mean, we're fucking, ruining shit over here. But no, I can totally sympathize with that. And as far as like how this is just maybe not exactly prioritized in the correct way. Uh, I mean, I totally sympathize with that because I mean, what Republicans want is just build more walls, right? They just want to keep building a wall. And what Democrats want are, at least here in the States, as far as I understand, what I would want is, shoring up, smart security measures. But it kind of seems like, we're doing decent with that. And I don't know. I do feel like that there's plenty of other things to prioritize other than immigration because I mean obviously we're trying to catch things. Of course, recently we there was that tractor trailer that was full of illegal immigrants that got where most of them I believe died, if not all, that were stuffed in the back of a truck. And so a lot of people are taking a bunch of hits for that. um or like they have a lot of criticisms of that. So
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe I don't know if Biden had this like in the pipe for a while. I would guess so, but it kind of seems like it's a sort of play maybe a bit of a placating move. Like, you see, I'm not being soft on the border. I don't have an open border policy. It's just Biden lacks some
Yeah, but
things.
okay. I think we have tweets from this, like right after this news broke, a bunch of GOP members were tweeting about Biden's open borders and how terrible it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they have no awareness.
They don't.
Anyway, that was basically all I wanted to say about this. I mean, the highlights make it seem like I had more to say, but I guess not. All right, so legal experts said Trump's phone call to January 6th witness isn't enough to charge him with federal crime yet, but could be a tantalizing teaser of what's to come. So did you hear about this?
Well, I heard a little something about it today. I was pretty I was pretty deep into a lot of code today, so I didn't see a lot of it, but I did hear that Trump apparently tried to tamper with a witness, and that's a big no-no.
Well, I mean, at this point, it's kind of common knowledge that he's been pressuring witnesses to either not testify or just plead the fifth.
Mm-hmm.
I actually, part of me didn't really understand why this was such a big deal. I think it might be because Trump himself called, whereas before it was his lawyers or his friends or someone, or like the pressure was coming from not directly him.
Yeah,
because
I think
he works like a mob boss. He doesn't like leaving a paper trail. he always talks in the like, oh, it'd be a shame if something happened to your store, sort of thing. Like instead of actually coming out and saying it.
Yeah, I had a boss one time that whenever he was doing something that might blow back on him, he would always want to talk in person or over the phone. Which, I mean, we're not recording phone calls, so over the phone was fine at that point. But like normally we would do everything over email, and that leaves a paper trail. So if there was anything that he wanted to say that he didn't want like a record of, he would just either do it in person or talk over the phone. So I think before it was it did Mark Meadows try to contact Hutchinson?
It might have been.
Yeah, I think Meadows tried to contact her and tell her not to like testify or something. So
yeah,
I mean, there's
so we know there's been
shitty shit going on.
This is one of those scenarios where it's like, yeah, we all know that witness tampering has been going on, but does the evidence rise to the level of being able to get a criminal conviction? Because that's the difficulty. Like that's I'm not a lawyer, so I'm probably going to screw stuff up, but I know there's like the concept of mens rea, where you have to, like, when committing these types of crimes, you have to not only like be doing the crime itself, you have to also know that it's a crime while you're doing it.
Yeah.
And so like that's how Junior got out of a lot of his charges with the defense of, I was too stupid to have known that was illegal. Like
and everybody's like, I actually kind of believe that.
Yeah. No, it's like, yeah, okay, that's legit. But yeah, so it's this is a case of, we all know it's happening, but does the evidence rise to the level of a criminal conviction? And just this phone call alone, spoiler for the end of the article, no. Just this phone call, because the person did not answer, we don't know if his intent there was to talk to her about the trial, or them. I don't know if it specifies who it was. I think it's anonymous still at the moment. I'm saying her because I have what's her name is fresh in my mind. Not her name, obviously. The person who testified at the
Hutchinson.
Yes. Yeah, so it's I forgot what I was saying. So anyway, former President Donald Trump Trump's alleged attempts to speak with one of the witnesses for the House committee investigating the Capitol riot has been referred to the U.S. Department of Justice, according to Liz Cheney. it'll be difficult to prove that such a call constitutes illegal tampering with a witness. Because depending on, he says Trump is damn lucky the witness did not answer the phone. That could have been a huge issue if he actually spoke with the witness. As it is, I don't think much can be done. But it's the kind of thing that scares the hell out of defense attorneys. So it's one of those things where, like, if he has a plausible reason other than the January 6 hearings to have called this person, then yeah, it'd be super easy for him to say, yeah, I was calling for this other thing. But if it's someone that he never speaks to ever, but has been present for a lot of the relevant stuff to the January 6 hearing, then that becomes a bit more suspicious. But it still doesn't quite rise to the level of being able to bring charges. But as they point out later on in the article, so actually contacting the witness and actually getting across your, I would like you to not testify because, or whatever, actually doing that is not necessary to constitute a crime. The attempt is all that's necessary. So if it can be shown that he called this person with the intention of affecting their testimony, then that is witness tampering, even if he didn't get a hold of them. But that's much harder to prove when he didn't get a hold of them.
I mean, to be quite honest, I think Trump should be brought up on charges for, demanding, nearly 12,000 votes be found for him when they just didn't exist.
Yeah, that was a federal crime.
Yeah,
and it's on tape. I think that one falls into the mens rea category. I heard an opening arguments episode on that. Where I think there was some technical reason why like that would be a hard thing to prosecute just with what you have, even though we all know that he's guilty, and we can hear that he's guilty right on the tape. But that's kind of what I was getting to here. Is later on they mention, I might have missed it somewhere. Anyway, they mention that the January 6th committee has shown an ability to structure things in a way to keep the public's interest and like lead up, like you drop little tidbits here and it leads up to something bigger, and like the surprise testimony happening when it did was very it just worked with everything. So this could be a thing where like they're dropping this for the public so that it gets the public's interest, so that the public will actually watch the relevant hearing to see who this witness was and what they can say about why Trump would be contacting them, and whether or not the Department of Justice even can do anything with this phone call, because maybe there is more evidence there where the Department of Justice can press charges.
Right.
And we don't know yet. So they could just be like dropping breadcrumbs to keep public interest.
Yeah. Honestly, I hope that they do something, like actually do something that prevents Trump.
Yeah, I hope this is more than the Mueller report.
Yeah.
Where it's because, like, it's a big deal and it takes forever, and then at the end it's just bleh.
I mean, honestly, if Trump runs again, and if he were to win, I really think that would be the end of our current form of government. Because, I mean, right now, you've got the Supreme Court. Sorry, I'm checking my sugar right now. You got the Supreme Court that's about to hear a case on whether or not, state legislatures should have full control over their voting system or their voting process or whatever. And so, like, they're probably going to rule in favor of states because that's how they've been doing shit. And if that happens, then there's no guarantee for a actual fair election, despite what
they're essentially gonna rule that they're probably going to rule that gerrymandering is a-okay. I mean, they already have ruled a couple things that kind of say that.
Well, yeah. Have you seen the gerrymandering in my state?
I haven't seen the maps, but
yeah, it's really messed up. There's one Democrat majority area that's a voting district, but like it's like this weird C shape where you've got the two biggest cities that are in the same voting district, and it's because they're Democrat. If you were to evenly distribute it, then I guarantee you that Alabama would be more blue than it is red.
Yeah, that happens in a lot. Like Texas is like that as well. Texas is basically blue. It's just the empty space gets more of a say.
Yeah, because of gerrymandering.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So anyway, that's the news. On to some tweets, I guess.
That's what everybody's here for, right? Tweet
Yeah.
twits.
Twit tweets.
Oh, twit
So we got
tweets. Sorry.
Twit tweets. Yeah, well, that's my whole thing. I like to think that one day Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube will all merge into one company, and it will be called You Twitface. I mean, aside from the name, that would be like the worst thing ever. But
you know, if they were to do that, I got to tell you, I'd have a lot more reach than I do right now.
Yeah, true. Anyway, so we start with Dinesh D'Souza. This is a two-parter. So MLK, MLK, comma Jr. Okay, whatever. MLK Jr., Gandhi, Bonhoeffer, Mandela. I'm probably saying Bonhoeffer wrong. Bonhoeffer, or is that German? Bonhoeffer. I don't know. Let's just insult everybody with my cultural impressions.
Can't be worse than mine.
Come to think of it, those of us who have been incarcerated for political crimes are in excellent company. No wonder I feel a sense of accomplishment in having served a bit of time. I'm certainly a lot tougher and wiser because of it. Okay. So Dinesh D'Souza, Martin Luther King Jr., Gandhi, Bonhoeffer. I don't know who Bonhoeffer is. I recognize the name, but I can't think of what they did off the top of my head. Nelson Mandela. So that group of people with Dinesh D'Souza in it. One of these things is not like the other.
Right.
Like, how many of those people pleaded guilty to fraud?
Yeah. I don't. I mean, the only one that I know extensively about it was probably MLK Jr. and he wasn't jailed for fraud or anything like that. His was civil disobedience stuff.
Okay. Okay, whatever this person's name is. Senshini, German visitor, says OE equals O with an umlaut. How is that supposed to help me? I don't know how to say an O with an umlaut. That is called an umlaut, right? With the two dots?
I have no idea. You said it, and I was like, fuck, he knows more than I do.
No, well, okay, all the different accents have different names. I think that one's the umlaut. I might be wrong. I just like it that they're trying to help me with pronunciation by showing me a letter that I don't know how to pronounce.
Yeah.
Okay. So some of those were political. One of those pled guilty to fraud because he's a huckster. And then he followed that up when people called him out for that because, in case you hadn't picked up on it, he is the fraud and huckster because he did go to prison for fraud. He followed that up with, if I compared myself to Martin Luther King in one respect, we were both incarcerated, it doesn't follow that I'm comparing myself to him in all respects. Leftist commentators are so poorly trained in logic that many of them cannot see the difference.
Yeah. So was Dinesh D'Souza, is it this campaign finance fraud?
Oh, I don't know if it was campaign. I don't remember the details.
Well, because I was like, what did he go to jail for? And the first thing that comes up, and it seems like everything's related to it, is Dinesh D'Souza being sentenced in Manhattan federal court to 5 years of probation for campaign finance fraud.
Yeah, campaign finance stuff.
Yeah.
That explains why he likes Trump so much, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's saying here is like, oh, I wasn't comparing myself to them in any way other than that we've both spent time in prison. It's like, well, no, let's go back and read the original thing. He didn't say that they just spent time in prison. He said it was political. Well, I mean, I guess that is campaign finance is technically a political crime, I guess. But like he says that he feels a sense of accomplishment for having been imprisoned for this, which says that like these guys were all imprisoned for their civil rights activism or like things adjacent to that. He was in prison for grifting people of money. Like that's...
Well, What I'm reading here on this FBI, it's an FBI.gov press release about it, and apparently, what D'Souza did was D'Souza uh, donated more than what's allotted from a private donor to certain like campaigns. The Senate campaign for Wendy Long. So basically, what he did, what I'm reading here off the FBI, is that both he and his wife contributed $5,000, which I think is the maximum that you can donate. And then D'Souza directed a couple of people that he's associated with, his assistant, and a woman with which he was romantically involved. And it ended up that they contributed, D'Souza himself ended up contributing over $20,000 to the campaign. And then he reimbursed the two people that he told to donate, and reimbursed them $10,000 each for their contributions. So I guess they made $5,000 off of it, maybe. But in any case, so basically, he figured out a way to donate a lot of money to one single Senate candidate, and that's what he got put in jail for.
Okay, so
or sentenced for.
So not that. So yeah, my initial impression was that he was grifting money from other people to make a profit for himself. So,
I mean, honestly, anybody that paid
still
money
not
for 2,000 mules, they definitely got grifted.
Yeah, that's
like
for
that
sure.
was a total grift.
I haven't watched it, but yeah, if you can't convince the likes of Bill Barr with that.
I know. Like, I thought that was hilarious.
It's crazy that these people are like, oh, Bill Barr is a rhino. He's a Republican in name only. He never really believed in it. It's like, do you remember how he got his job? He was the guy that wrote a letter sucking Trump's dick, basically saying, no, the president can never be convicted, can never be indicted for anything. Like, yeah. He was, like, if you've gone too far for Bill Barr, you've gone way too far, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, next up is Jack Pasta, who says, I'm going to show you the graph in a minute, but he says, this graph is useless if you don't count the inequality in the U.S. U.S. is a country good for the rich. The gap in life expectancy between the richest 1% and the poorest 1% of individuals was 14.6 years, 95% confidence interval, blah, blah, blah. Excluding the poor, Americans do have a long life. So this is the graph. It's basically life expectancy graph up against healthcare expenditure. So further to the right is more money spent per capita on healthcare, and further to the top is greater life expectancy. So basically, of the countries listed here, the United States not only has the lowest life expectancy, they also spend the most per capita on healthcare, which doesn't seem to really make sense unless you guys are paying too much for healthcare.
I mean, yeah, we definitely are. Like, we're fucked on healthcare.
Yeah. So back to this. Now, I am going to say I don't know. This could be a poorly worded way of just saying, hey, look at the wealth inequality in the States. This is terrible. But the way this comes across is, who cares about the bottom 1%? It's fine. It's good for the people who can pay for it.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, we know it's good for the people that can pay for it. That's one of the problems, is that those are the only people it's good for.
Well, and like saying like excluding the poor. I mean, honestly, that's just the class version of saying of that guy. It was a politician from Louisiana who was talking about their mortality rate of women during pregnancy. And it's like, if you just disregard all black people, then we have a normal like mortality rate for pregnant women.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's the similar thing. It's like, if you just ignore the poor people,
then we're good.
We got great. It's great here.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say something with that. but now I've lost it because I read some chat stuff.
Oh, I was gonna say, so sorry, I didn't mean to throw you
No,
off.
no, it wasn't you. It was me. Yeah, I don't know who Vulcan Fuckwards is. Are they giving you trouble in the chat? Do I need to put them on timeout? It doesn't seem too bad. But, whatever. You guys let me know. Now we gotta get on to K Sorbet.
K Sorbet.
K Sorbet. I forget who started calling him Sorbet, but like when he posts things, people always respond with just like the word sorbet. I don't know why.
That's a great way to respond to him in anything that he says.
Yeah, basically. He says, if you think mass shooters have killed too many people, just wait till you find out what the governments of disarmed citizens have done.
Oh my God. I quote tweeted this one. Oh man. Like, just from an American point of view, we're not looking to take away people's guns. We're just like, for the most part, we're not. We just don't want crazy sumbitches having access to high capacity semi-automatic weaponry. Like, that's it. We're not looking to disarm people, but also I want to point out how ridiculous it is that a bunch of hillbillies think that an AR-15 or whatever other kind of semi-automatic rifle you have is going to do anything up against a tank, a Predator drone, like anything else that the government has.
Yeah, do people like Kevin honestly think that the only reason the government isn't using military force against its own citizens is because of their guns? Like,
well, yeah, I know. It also is kind of weird because Sorbet here is like part of the crowd that normally props up like the police and is like, all Blue Lives Matter and everything like that.
Back the blue.
Except when it comes to taking away your semi-automatic rifles, then it's like, fuck the police, you know.
But I mean, you know what, I actually might have to change my stance on this, because like he might be right, because have you seen the video that came out of Uvalde recently?
Oh yes.
Where the cops run in, and when they start taking fire, when a whole group of cops start taking fire from one guy, they run away.
Oh,
so
and it wasn't even that they started taking fire.
They just heard
as far as
I didn't actually see the video. I did.
I watched the entire thing. They run in like literally like 7 minutes after the shooter walks into the school. They run in and they've got their assault rifles, and they go down right outside the door. And the guy had only been in there for like 2 minutes, and he had already shot more than 100 rounds, right? But they were right outside the door, and then they hear gunshots as the guy is killing children, and then they retreat and run back. And they just sit there with their freaking shields and their AR-15s, their assault rifles, just pointed down the hallway.
The kids are their shields. The kids are their shields.
Right.
Yeah. So maybe one citizen with an AR-15 is enough to fend off the entire U.S. government, if that's the kind of if that's how the good guys with the guns are.
Well, you know what I've noticed in the past few years is that as far as the police pushing back against like the crazy ass right-wing people that have guns, they're too afraid. But when it's people that are protesting like somewhat peacefully about their rights to bodily autonomy, or their rights to not be just killed by the police will just be as brutal as shit to them, because they know that they're not going to fight back. They know that they're not going to do anything. Whereas with the religious right people, they know like if they were to like treat that group with the same kind of demeanor as they do the peaceful protesters, then they know that they're likely to get shot, and so they're scared.
Yeah. Bunch of cowards, apparently.
It seems like it.
It's the way they're acting. Actions speak louder than words, and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. One more from K Sorbet. It says, people really argue against the death penalty and then go and abort their child. So
I'm so tired of this argument.
Yeah, but like, I don't understand how they even think to say stuff like, because Kevin is pro death penalty, but like he will argue against abortion based on the sanctity of life. Like, what sanctity when you're killing people? That like and like you can't be 100% sure that the person, like, look up the Innocence Project sometime and see how many people that have been exonerated that were on death row waiting to be executed that didn't actually do anything wrong. So like when somebody's executed by the government, you don't know if that's the real, like, it's really hard to be 100% sure that someone actually, even with confessions, it's hard to do that because taking it back to police tactics, they have this way of basically psychologically torturing people in the interrogation room to get them to confess.
Yeah.
But then on top of that,
oh, go ahead.
On top of all that, like, it's not until the third trimester that the beginnings of the parts of the brain start showing up that even have the capability of becoming a person. Even then, it's debatable. Like, you could argue that like a newborn baby isn't a person until it's about like a year old or somewhere around there, because that's when that part of the brain actually starts some real development. But nobody's calling for post-birth abortions, unlike what the GOP will tell you. But like, at least up until the third trimester, there shouldn't be, like, it's not got the capability of having human experiences. It's purely stimulus response at that point. So, I've got
sorry to interrupt. Thinking about the whole death penalty kind of thing and the Innocence Project. Have you ever seen a movie called Just Mercy?
No.
You should watch it. And it's pretty personal to me, at least, because it actually is a true story about something that happened here in Alabama, and just the shit that they had to go through in order to prove that this guy was innocent, and that the actual case that they had against this black guy that was on death row. Yeah, it's just unreal. It really is.
Yeah. To derail the conversation a little bit, the JASA says Miranda was overturned, so it's going to be even easier to get confessions. Just want to say, technically speaking, Miranda was not overturned. Your ability to seek compensation should your Miranda rights be violated was overturned. So they still, technically speaking, have to read you the Miranda rights. It's just that if they don't, you have no recourse. So it's it's effectively been overturned without technically being overturned.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I feel like for some police departments, they just they won't emphasize reading Miranda rights.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely going to become part of police training now in a lot of places. Is that like, yeah, you're still supposed to do the Miranda rights, but they can't fight back if you don't. So.
Yeah, so why do it in the first place? That way you can put people in jail, and make the state money, because when you go to jail or get imprisoned, a lot of times people come out owing the state money. It's crazy.
Really? How does that work?
Well, it's like you get charged money for actually being in jail. And so, like, you can try to work it off while you're in jail, but they pay really poor wages for people that are in jail and do work. So when you come out of jail, a lot of times you have a bill with the state for like your time served in jail. And it's because they charge you per day that you're in jail.
Okay, I knew your penal system was fucked up, but that's like next level fucked up.
Yeah, it really is.
Like, I don't know. I don't know much about the Canadian penal system either, so for all I know, it's the same thing here, but that just... Wow. That's... okay. Actually, I think someone's talking about the HOV lane. Did you see that headline where the lady in Texas is like fighting a traffic ticket because she got pulled over in the HOV lane, but just like, I'm pregnant, counts as a second person now, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, yeah, they've either got to highlight the hypocrisy, which I mean, right now, I think that they would be perfectly fine with being hypocritical about it,
Well,
because
I think I think
go ahead.
with like the fact that traffic court is different from criminal court kind of plays a factor here. So the judge will just be like, "No, I don't feel like dealing with this. Fine, whatever. Your ticket's gone."
Could be, but I mean, they've in my view, like they've got to either admit that that it's a child as far as legal aspects go, or they've got to admit that it's not a child. And so it just kind of shows the disparity in our court system, because I mean, whether or not it's a traffic court, or if it's criminal court, if the law is this lane is to be used by one or more two or more people, and if they don't consider that child or that fetus a person, I feel like it should apply to other areas of our legal system. I mean, I feel like regardless of whether or not it's like a traffic thing, you could appeal to that in other courts, that particular ruling. So
Karen Swan is going full handmaid here, saying it's a woman. It won't count as women don't get rights. So it's not the baby that doesn't count as a person. It's the woman that doesn't count as a person. Oh, that's depressing. Anyway, so this one, if I recall correctly, this was kind of fun. So this is Patriarch Prime, PhD. Citation needed. He says, every Why I Left Christianity story. Someone was mean to me, told me to stop sinning. No one taught me what Christianity means. I really liked things in my butt, or I realized I liked things in my butt. I wanted to be a different gender. The pastor was scary. I wasn't feeling it. And I never read the Bible. Tell me, John, any of those apply to you?
I mean, hell no. I mean, ever since I grew up, the first school I attended, like actual school, was a Catholic school. It was a private school. I went there my entire time. People taught me what Christianity was about, but even before then, I knew what Christianity was about. And then the whole someone was mean to me or told me to stop sinning. That happens at every freaking church. If you don't like what a pastor's telling you, you just go and find another church. Especially here in Alabama, you could throw a rock and hit 3 churches off the ricochets. So, and then I realized I like things in my butt. Last time I checked, even Christians love things in their butts. So I don't see how that could sway you away.
There's nothing in the Bible that says you can't like things in your butt.
Yeah,
and like
in the Bible, it just says don't let a guy put something.
Actually,
in your butt.
right here, I have the Celebration of Sex, a Christian guide to sex that I've had it for years. I don't remember why we got it. Well, I mean, we were a young married Christian couple. That's why we got it originally. But so in this whole book on sex, you know how much time he spends on anything anal related?
How much?
1 tiny paragraph in the whole book.
Does it say don't do anal?
Basically, it says don't do anal. The butt was designed for things coming out, not things going in. So do what God's design is. No biblical citations, because
unless you
the
just
Bible
put
doesn't.
Things in there, then it's for both.
Yeah, no, the Bible doesn't specify. So, like, I realized I like things in my butt. You can like things in your butt and still be a Christian. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to be a different gender. It's like the Bible literally says that there is no male or female, so do with that what you will.
Yeah.
The pastor was scary, so I would assume that would be like preaching hellfire.
I guess so, but I mean, then again, I mean, you just go to a different church. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why that some jackass is being scary would
Also,
convince anybody.
Also, if you're legitimately scared of hell and that's why you're a Christian and you actually like believe in hell, like being scared of that isn't going to get you to stop being a Christian. In fact, that's a common problem in atheists, is that I no longer believe, but I'm still scared of hell because that was drilled into me so hard. And so like those people, yeah. Speaking of butt stuff,
Giggity.
but like those people, if you ask them, they wouldn't say I left because I was scared. They would say I want to go back because I'm scared, but I can't bring myself to believe something that I just don't believe is true.
Right.
And I wasn't feeling it. Again, that's one you could change churches for. I never read the Bible. Literally reading the Bible is what made me an atheist.
Right.
Like,
and I mean, honestly, I feel like doing an unbiased, just complete reading of the Bible has made more atheists than it's made Christians. You know?
Yeah. Oh, they love doing that in the Christian movies. It's just read the Bible. It's like, really? Like, no, you don't want them to actually read the Bible. Like
they don't.
Yeah, like you've listened to my podcast on it. I'm reading the Bible to my daughter, and so many times her just honest to goodness reaction is like, "What? What just happened? Why? That's so messed up."
Have you gotten to Numbers 31 yet?
No, we when we finished Genesis, I kind of skipped ahead to the Jesus stuff because at the rate we're going, I wouldn't get to Jesus until she's like 25, and then it's no longer reading the Bible to a child.
Yeah. I've let's see. I think Casey and I have been doing a Bible podcast, reading it from cover to cover. Well, reading it in a chronological way, cover to cover. I think we've been going on 5 years now, and we're not even to the New Testament yet. We're almost there.
Yeah. So the Puzzle in the Thunderstorm podcast guys, on one of their shows, they do a dramatic Bible reading where they like act out scenes from the Bible, and so it makes it go faster than actually reading it. They are 4 years into this endeavor, and they haven't made it to the New Testament yet, and they're skipping a lot. But like, they're not like skipping it, but they'll do it quicker, like sort of. I don't know. It's
I mean, there are whole sections where it's just reading off names.
Yep.
I mean, this past time in Nehemiah, he literally wanted to take a full genealogical record of everybody in Israel and then dictated where they should live. So it's like, what the fuck?
Okay. Joss is asking, where is my podcast? It's called The Bible Through a Child's Eyes. It can be found on most podcast places. I'm not on Spotify because I don't want to share a platform with Joe Rogan. But all the other ones, it should be there. Actually, I might not have taken Bible Through a Child's Eyes off of. Anyway, in the video description, there's probably, there's the All My Links thing. If you go to the All My Links, the podcast is one of them. You can also listen to my regular videos as a podcast. Some people like that because, I do content that is easy to listen to without necessarily having to watch. And some people like to do that with their headphones on while they're cleaning or whatever. And YouTube doesn't make that easy unless you pay for it. And paying for YouTube is actually really, really good for creators. So if obviously become my personal patron before you pay YouTube. But if you got a lot of creators that you want to support and you can't afford, like I can't afford to be a patron for everyone that I like. Becoming a YouTube premium member is actually a really good way to support that, even though it does still give money to the devil. So you can either pay for YouTube or just do the podcast for free. I think the ads are a little bit less intrusive on the podcast. It's easier to like skip past them and stuff. But yeah, it's up to personal preference. And also, if you're worried, I've seen some people get worried. It's like, oh, I would do your podcast, but I want to make sure you get paid for the view. I get paid for the podcast stuff. And I used to do the math on it fairly regularly. It's approximately equal rate per listen, so it makes zero difference to me what way you listen to my stuff. Listen to it the way that best suits you. I give all the options. Anyway, Benny Shaps, the Sandman. You know why he's the Sandman?
Why is that?
Because it's dry and irritating, gets everywhere. I'm sorry. Okay, this is a bit of a long one. I think this came from Facebook originally. Oh shoot, I just realized I didn't do my normal thing where I check to make sure this is real, but there were multiple people commenting that had seen it themselves, so I would assume that it's real.
Mm-hmm.
My bad. If it's not, I don't know. It's typical Ben Shapiro crap. It's nothing too crazy. Atheism is no longer simply a belief in the absence of God. It's now an active rebuke against his existence, fueled by rage and endless invective. I mean, it could be either. But also, the rage is usually not directed at God. It's more directed at the people that claim to speak for him. Because if you don't believe in God anymore, there's nothing there for you to be mad at. The arguments so many employ against God are as rote and dogmatic as any kind of extremism. It's like, okay, you know what? The arguments against God are rote because there hasn't been a new argument for God in literally centuries. And like, there's only so many fresh ways you can say the same thing that refutes this old argument for God. And like, I don't know, most of the arguments for God I find fall into the God of the gaps type category. Mm-hmm. Where like you argue to a point where it's like, okay, well, we don't know how exactly this works, so we're just going to assume that it can't work naturally, therefore it must be God. So like that'd be like your teleological argument. Let's see there. It's been a while since I've looked at the philosophy of it. But yeah, whatever. They're rote as extremism. Religious faith is maligned to exhaustion online and elsewhere unless it involves crystals and witchcraft. I mean, crystals have a dangerous path down to pseudoscientific healing instead of going to an actual doctor. As far as the witchcraft goes, again, it could lead to trusting in a shaman or something instead of a doctor for healing. But aside from that, the reason the witches and pagans generally get left alone is because they generally don't push their beliefs on others. Now, there might be a distinction here between witches and pagans. I'm just going, like, I only know a few of them personally. Ocean is the one I interact with the most, and then there's like Wolf the Red and a few other people that I interact with on Twitter. Generally, religion doesn't enter the picture when you're talking to them. It's just a normal conversation with normal people. So we leave them alone. Whereas when you interact with Christians, it's, have you heard about Jesus? Y'all need Jesus.
Oh yeah, and they constantly want to push it on you.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing.
Yeah, so it's a case of if you leave us alone, we'll probably leave you mostly alone.
Yeah.
Again,
exactly.
I will still push back on, like, if you talk about faith healing instead of going to an actual doctor, I will absolutely push back on that no matter what religion it is. But yeah, when it just comes to normal everyday conversation, I leave the pagans alone because they leave me alone. We just have normal conversations.
Exactly.
Atheists don't just refuse the light, they now seek to extinguish it. Yeah, I mean, John Lennon had it right. Imagine no religion.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do like that song, but like I'm not looking to take anybody's faith away from them.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's kind of what he's getting at here, is that not only do we not want to believe, or I guess in his view, I mean, it's not about not wanting to believe, but in his view, it's, not only do they not want to believe, they're refusing to believe, they're now looking to take your belief away from you, is what I get from this. Mm-hmm. And that's just simply not what's going on.
Nope. I mean, the harmful ones, yeah, like creationism.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why don't you be a Christian like Megan Lewis? She's a good Christian.
Yeah, you know, honestly,
she was my last two guests on this stream.
Yeah. Honestly, when there's not, you know, an aspect of someone's belief that causes them to try to push it on other people, I really don't care, and that comes to you know, Christians as well. Like you were saying with Megan. Megan doesn't look to push her belief on anybody else. So it's like, I have nothing to say about that. Like, you want to believe in Jesus and everything like that?
Yeah.
Fine.
Like, just look at the streams that I have with Megan. We're just two people talking. It usually doesn't come up.
Right.
And
That's
when
how
when it
normal
does, it's
conversations
stupid
are.
stuff that Christians are doing that is not relevant to the religion, really.
Yeah.
But Web B says, if Ben Shapiro is the facts and logic guy and 95% of his audience is Christian, but he's Jewish, why not convert his audience to the correct religion? Well, I think he kind of follows the Dennis Prager MO there, where he tries to be their token Judeo so that they can say it's Judeo-Christian. Even though,
Right.
like, if you talk to most Jewish, like the abortion issue, abortion is a part of the Jewish religion. And like
Right.
you look at the surveys, like 85% of practicing Jews believe that, okay, maybe not practicing, maybe it's just Jewish people in general. I don't know. There's an interesting distinction there that could be a whole topic onto itself. But it's something like 85% of Jewish people believe that abortion should be available for pretty much any reason. So like the Christians will come in and say it's Judeo-Christian values is why we're against them. It's like, you got check with some more actual Jewish people on the Judeo part of that, because like when the ones that I've spoken to get kind of annoyed that you lump them in with you. Okay, wouldn't be a Twit tweets without a Frank Turek. Actually, no, I think I did one without a Turek the other week. I can't miss Turek and Sorbo at the same time. Frank Turek says, if you don't really have a mind, just a brain, why should your brain even be able to tell you anything that's true or not? Because you're stealing all these things from the theistic worldview in order to say that theism is false. You're stealing from God to argue against him.
I mean, Frank Turek is part of the crowd that thinks that, that our quote unquote God given brain is, I guess, supposed to be 100% flawless. Like even in a more secular view of of the mind brain thing, we admit that our brains can be fooled, our senses can be fooled. That's why in science we try to remove any possible things that could be contaminating our perception of things. So like this isn't really the dunk that he thinks it is, I guess.
It's like, no, absolutely. Your brains cannot be trusted to tell you what's true. They get things so wrong. Like look into what's her name? Loftus. Forget her first name.
John W. Loftus?
No, it's sorry, I always forget her first name because I went to school with a girl who had the same last name. Elizabeth Loftus.
Okay.
She is an expert on this. She gives expert testimony. She's been doing so for decades about how our brains get manipulated, how false memories get implanted. I think she's the one that was running the study where you've probably heard of the study where they convinced people that they had a run-in with the police after getting lost in a mall as a kid. And it's
no,
like they just like,
I hadn't seen that, but that's interesting.
They just made this experience up out of whole cloth, and through strategic prompting were able to get these people to then later on be convinced that that had actually happened to them, and they would even give details about it that were not included in the original thing. So It's like our brains cannot be trusted for figuring out what's true. You can't even be trusted to remember what's true about your own life and your own experiences. So no, they can't be trusted. That's why science is a thing, so that we can try and get rid of all this extraneous, like all these extra connections that our brain tries to make that are like shortcuts that kind of help evolutionarily speaking, but they don't help us learn things.
Right.
So, like, yeah, no, we shouldn't trust our brains. Therefore, like, no, I'm not borrowing from theism to argue against God. I'm borrowing from secularism because I know you can't trust our brains. Why would God design them that way?
That's a good question. But also, I wonder how Frank, because if I could ask Frank a question, and he's got this idea of, you know, my mind's in our mind can indicate what's true or not, I guess, about the universe, or knowing truth. I wonder how he would distinguish between different religious experiences, because, like, of course, Frank
Mm-hmm.
Turek and Christians like him have this religious experience of Jesus, right? Well, you know, Mormons have the same kind of experience with Joseph Smith or the angel Moroni or
Those are
whatever.
demons.
Oh, they're
Those are
demons. Right.
demons
I
faking
forgot.
those experiences for the other people.
I
I don't know if
mean,
Frank holds that position, but I know that I have seen apologists that will say, like, oh, our worldview accounts for not only religious experiences for Christians, but all religious experiences, because the other ones are all demons.
yeah, I want to say that it was the early church father Origen, maybe. Uh, he explained how, because it's very obvious that Jesus is very similar to other savior deities. And so the only way that, I believe it was Origen, could think of, like, well, then how do you explain all these other savior deities that come before Jesus? And Jesus is pretty similar to them. Well, obviously, the devil came in and did all of this stuff in order to delegitimize the real Son of God.
How
And so it was like
how
a preemptive thing.
original.
Of origin, yeah. um, but yeah, it's kind of crazy how they'll appeal to those things. I remember having a couple of Mormons come by, and I was actually able to get them to come by my place 3 different times. I think on the last time, I asked them, like, you have this religious experience with Jesus. How do you distinguish that from a Muslim that has the same experience but with his particular religion? Like, how do you distinguish those? They didn't have a good answer for me. There's like, I can't. I just know what's true for me. It's like, oh well, good for fucking you.
Yeah, I don't get Mormons in my area. I get JWs, and the JWs get scared off really easy.
I had a couple of JW women come to my door, and like, I started reading them all of the very misogynistic stuff from the Bible, and they were like, "We've got to go, but we'll come back." And they
They,
came
oh,
back,
did
but
they?
it was with a dude that knocked on the door, and it was like, "Look, I'm just here to give you this, and we're gonna say goodbye. Goodbye. I hope you'll come to our little meeting."
See, because
And that was it.
I've they come back every couple of years. It's always different people. Um, but yeah, like they'll knock on the door, and then I get way too excited to go and answer the door and talk to these people, and like I'll do stuff like that too. Like last time I pulled out 1 Samuel 15, the Amalekite genocide,
Yeah.
and they just like were completely flabbergasted that, like, God didn't just say to kill them all, but he like went out of his way to specify that the babies and the children and everything, and then he made Saul not king anymore because Saul wasn't genocidal enough for him because he spared the king and some animals.
Right.
And so like, and they had no idea that that was even in there. And then they were like, okay, well, we're going to need to pray about this, and, you know, ask some elders for help and find some answers, and we'll come back and be in touch. And it's been like 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah, but the apologetic I've heard for that has always been, well, I mean, they were at war. Like, do you know what they did? They burnt children. And it's
Yeah,
like,
that's
so let me get this straight.
so
God's solution to protect the children from being sacrificed is to go in and just
kill all the
kill all
children.
the children?
Well, but on top of that, what that's saying is that morality is relative. It's not absolute. So killing children is bad when you're doing it in a bronze statue to Baal, but it's good when you're doing it to prevent them from being put in the bronze statue to Baal. Like,
Yeah.
so like these are the same people that will tell you that, like, no, you should not lie to a Nazi to save a Jew because that's lying, and lying is wrong, and we don't know what God's
Hmm.
plan is for the person that the Nazi is going to take at that point. Maybe God has a bigger plan for them. So the same people that will say you can't lie to a Nazi to save a Jew because lying is always wrong will tell you that killing the babies was fine that time because the Amalekites were being terrible. It's like, how does that justify it? It, like, do the ends justify the means, or do they not?
Right.
Anyway, we're not too far over time, but we are over time a little. So I think that's it for today. Somebody suggested a thing that I could do at the end as like my little sign off, but I forget what it was. So I still don't know what I'm going to do. Oh no, I won't see you next week. I'm just gonna go out on a limb now and say that I'm not gonna feel like streaming next week, because next week my streaming day would also have been my 17th wedding anniversary, so that's a no. I'm gonna take that day off. So yeah, I'll see you the week after that then, I guess. So thanks for joining me, John. If you want to see more from John, he's got links down in the description. And yeah, I think you can just click on his name too with the little @ symbol thing there. That's how it's supposed to work. So yeah, thanks for joining me, and see you later.